There is a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't leave bruises that anyone can see. It doesn't make a sound in the middle of the night. It hides in your chest, in your throat, in the quiet spaces of your mind where no one ever looks. It creeps into your mornings before the sunlight has even reached your room. It lingers in the way your hand instinctively reaches for a phone that no longer rings with their name. It hides in the corners of rooms that suddenly feel emptier than they ever did before. A breakup is not just losing a person. It is losing the rhythm of their presence in your life. The good morning messages that once felt like warmth. The late night calls full of laughter and whispers that now echo in your memory like ghosts. The inside jokes that made the world smaller, more intimate, more yours. It is losing the future you had already started living in your mind. The trips you planned that never happened. The quiet nights imagining one day we will. The dreams you stitched together on a we that no longer exists. The version of yourself that only made sense in their presence, the us you became. And the hardest part, it is waking up one morning and realizing you don't just miss them. You don't recognize yourself anymore. You look in the mirror and see someone who feels smaller, quieter, incomplete. Someone haunted by the absence of what was once your world. Healing after a breakup is not a straight road. It's jagged. It's messy. It's a storm that arrives in waves you never expect. Some days, you feel like you're finally moving forward. Like you're stronger, braver, whole again. And then, one memory strikes. One song plays. One random place reminds you of them. And suddenly, it all comes rushing back. The laughter, the touch, the warmth. The dreams you held together. The hope you had that you were forever. You question everything. Was it real? Did I mean anything? Why wasn't I enough? Was love ever enough to keep us? And then the truth that no one ever tells you. It was real. You did matter. And you were enough. Sometimes, people leave not because you lacked something, but because they couldn't hold what you carried. They couldn't handle the depth of your love. They couldn't keep pace with the heart you brought to the relationship. And that is not your failing. That is not your fault. Healing is not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's not about moving on quickly or being over it on someone else's timeline. Healing is about stepping into the fire of your own emotions. Cry if you need to. Scream if the walls will hold it. Feel the rage that makes your chest burn. Sit in the emptiness that makes your heart ache like it will never mend. Because ignoring pain doesn't make it disappear. It only burrows deeper. It only waits to return louder, sharper, more insistent. And yet, in the middle of that agony, something extraordinary is happening. You are being forced to meet yourself again. Not the version of you that existed in a we. Not the one who bent, adjusted, compromised, or gave away pieces of themselves to keep someone else happy. but the version of you that is raw, unguarded, and wholly alone, and that can feel terrifying. Because now there is no distraction, no comforting voice to fill the silence, no arms to lean into, no one to anchor you in a storm. Just you and silence. And in that silence, your soul begins to speak. It whispers truths you ignored while distracted by someone else. It shows you the parts of yourself that were buried under love you gave too freely. It reminds you of who you were before you lost yourself. At first, this is lonely. It can feel like walking through a dark forest with no light. But slowly, you start to notice the things you have been missing. The small joys you abandoned. The laughter you stifled. The dreams you postponed. The parts of yourself you forgot were yours. Healing is messy. It loops back on itself. Some days you feel alive. Other days, dead inside. But every tear, every scream, every lonely night is shaping you, forging you, molding a stronger, wiser, more whole version of yourself. And one day, not suddenly, not immediately, you will wake up, and for a moment, the pain will not be at the forefront of your mind. The memories will exist, yes, but they will no longer control you. You will smile at the freedom of simply existing as yourself, without apology. Breakups do not destroy you. They reveal you. They force you to confront the parts of yourself you hid, ignored, or surrendered. And when you emerge on the other side, you will not be the same. You will be stronger, wiser, more aware of your worth than you ever were before. Because the greatest love story you can ever live is the one you have with yourself. But listen carefully. That silence is not your enemy. It may feel cold. It may feel endless. It may feel like a vacuum pulling at the edges of your soul. But that silence, that stillness, is where your healing begins. It's in this quiet that you are finally forced to face yourself, to look at the parts of your heart you buried, the pieces of your identity you handed away. It is here that the questions you avoided in the chaos of love begin to surface. What do I truly need? What parts of myself did I compromise to keep someone else happy? What did I ignore while trying to preserve a love that wasn't meant to last? And it hurts so, it hurts like nothing else. Because these questions force honesty. They force reflection. They pull back the veil on everything you sacrificed in the name of love. Breakups don't just break your heart. They reveal it. They expose where you overgave, where you lowered your standards, where you stayed longer than you should have, where you allowed someone else's needs to overshadow your own. And as excruciating as that realization, that awareness is power. It is the seed of your rebirth. It is the first spark of your return to yourself. Healing is not a what-time decision. It is a series of choices you make in the shadows of your own pain. Choosing yourself, again and again, even on the days when the mirror reflects someone you don't recognize. even on the days when the emptiness feels heavier than your own breath. It is rebuilding your identity from the ground up, piece by piece. Rediscovering what makes you laugh, what ignites your soul, what makes your chest feel light again. Reclaiming the parts of yourself that were lost, hidden, or surrendered. Finding joy not in another person's validation, but in your own presence, your own worth. And one day, not suddenly, not like a switch turning on, but slowly, patiently, you will wake up, and their name will no longer be the first thought on your mind. The memories, though still present, will no longer pierce you like knives. The pain will remain a chapter in your story, but it will no longer dictate the narrative. You will realize something profound. You didn't lose yourself. You were buried beneath a love that wasn't meant to last. You were hidden under the weight of someone else's presence, someone else's needs, someone else's choices. And now, you are rising again, stronger, wiser, more attuned to your own value than you have ever been, more determined to never let anyone dim your light again. So, if you are in that dark place right now, where every step feels heavy, where the emptiness feels infinite, where it feels like the person you were has vanished, you are not wrong. You will not be the same. And thank God for that, because you will be better. Not because the pain was easy, but because you survived it. Not because you forgot, but because you learned to honor yourself anyway. Sometimes the person who left you didn't take your heart. No, they didn't steal your heartbeat, your capacity to love, your warmth, or your kindness. What they took was something far subtler, far more insidious. They took the illusion that you needed them to feel complete. For months, maybe years, you built your world around them. Every smile, every hope, every dream was colored by their presence. You measured your happiness in their attention. You silenced pieces of yourself to fit their expectations. You forgot the sound of your own laughter, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, the beauty of your own mind. And then one day, they left, and the illusion shattered. The life you imagined us, you thought could never break, crumbled beneath your feet. And at first, it felt like the world itself had betrayed you. Like your heart had been ripped out and replaced with a hollow ache. But then, slowly, quietly, something miraculous begins to happen. You realize they didn't take you. They didn't steal the essence of who you are. What they took was a false belief, a dependency you didn't even know had formed. The idea that you weren't enough without someone else to validate you. And in losing them, in being forced to exist without that illusion, you find yourself. You meet the pieces of you that were buried, the parts that were silenced to make room for them, the dreams you abandoned, the laughter you postponed, the joy you gave away thinking it belonged to someone else. And as you reclaim those pieces, as you breathe freely again, you understand something profound. The love you thought you lost was never the source of your completeness. The person who left was never holding the key to your wholeness. The truth, the raw, aching, liberating truth, is that you have always carried it within you. You find freedom not in forgetting them, but in remember yourself. You find power not in replacing them, but in choosing you. You find love not dependent, not conditional, but unconditional. Starting with your own heart. Because, sometimes, the greatest heartbreak is the doorway to your greatest awakening. And now, as you stand at the edge of that pain, as the echoes of what was still linger your chest, listen closely. The love that left you was not the end of your story. No heartbreak, no betrayal, no goodbye, no matter how deep, was ever the final chapter. It was the wake-up call, a call you may not have wanted to answer at first, a call that shook you, shattered you, and stripped away the illusions you clung to. Because sometimes love leaves, not to punish you, not to break you, but to remind you that your greatest love was never elsewhere. It was inside you all along. The one who left, they didn't take your heart. They didn't steal the fire that lives in your chest. They didn't diminish your worth. No, what they did was something far more profound. They freed it from dependence, freed it from needing validation from someone else, freed it from the weight of compromise you never should have carried, freed it from the false belief that you couldn't be complete on your own. And in that freedom, you begin to meet yourself again. Not the version of you who bent, who adjusted, who silenced her needs for another. Not the version who measured happiness by someone else's presence. But the real you, the whole you, the version that laughs freely, dreams boldly, and carries your own heart with pride and care. And slowly, gently, the pain begins to transform. It softens. It no longer cuts with the same sharpness. It becomes part of your story, yes, but not the chapter that defines you. You rise, not as someone patched together from memories of love that left, but as someone reborn from the ashes of what you thought you couldn't survive. And here is the truth you must hold close. You were never broken beyond repair. You were never incomplete without them. The love that seemed to abandon you was the very thing that gave you the chance to find the one you were searching for all along yourself. So breathe and let that sink in. Feel the power that comes from surviving, from learning, from reclaiming the pieces of your soul you thought were lost. The one who left didn't take your heart, they freed it. And in that freedom, in that quiet, powerful, unshakable freedom, you finally become whole. And that is how you heal. Your story didn't end with their goodbye. No matter how sudden, no matter how painful, no matter how much it felt like the ground itself was pulled from under you. Because goodbyes are not endings. They are awakenings. They are the moment when the universe strips away what no longer serves you and dares you to remember something you may have forgotten. Your heart belongs to you and you alone. It belongs to the version of you that was lost in the shadows of someone else's love. It belongs to the parts of you silenced to keep another happy. It belongs to the dreams you abandoned, the laughter you muted, the life you paused because you thought you needed them to feel whole. And now that you stand here, raw and alive, you realize something extraordinary. No one ever owned your heart. Not them, not the love you thought defined you, not the absence you feared would break you forever. Your heart is yours, and in reclaiming it, you reclaim yourself. You reclaim your voice, your joy, your power. You reclaim the courage to feel deeply, to dream boldly, to love without fear, not because someone else told you to, but because you remembered who you were all along. This is the moment your story truly begins. Not with them, not with what was lost, not with pain, but with you, with the quiet strength that rises after heartbreak, with the wisdom carved by every tear, every sleepless night, every ache that seemed unbearable. You have walked through fire, and you are still standing. You have felt loss, and yet here you are, whole, untamed, alive. And that is your power. That is your victory. Your heart was never lost. It was waiting for you to remember that you are enough, whole, and yours completely, unapologetically, forever yours. Always remember this every time. Your story didn't end with there. Goodbye, it began the moment you remembered that your heart belongs to you, and you alone. And in that truth, you become unstoppable.